Okay, welcome back. So we had created the SQL database, Azure SQL database in the last session. So we'll just continue from there. So now you can see in the notification bar that the deployment succeeded. So it was completed. So we can, there are two options. Either I can go to the resource directly, or I can pin to dashboard. So dashboard is something which is kind of a summary view of all my resources. When I have many resources, I can just go to the dashboard and it will show me all the resources present together. Okay, so for now I'll just press this button, go to resource. Okay, so now the database is already created. Now you can see the details about this Azure SQL database. So it will show me that it is the resource group. The status is online, that means the database is available now. This is the location, this is the subscription, this is the ID of my subscription. These are some tags. I can add some tags here for easy access. Okay, this is the name of the SQL server. Then the elastic pool details. So as I had selected no, that's why it is showing me no elastic pool. We may have some other session where we'll try to create one elastic pool and show how it works. Then the connection string, that is very important. We need the connection string so that I can connect to this SQL database from different clients. Okay, then the pricing tier was basic, that we had selected for DTU. Okay, fine. Then this is the earliest restore point. So restore point means, because as I had mentioned that as you are creating it as a pass, so all the other activities, server related activities and the hardware related activities, everything will be taken care by the cloud provider. So backup restore is also being taken care by the cloud provider. We need not bother about it. Okay, fine. Then here in the left panel you can see many of the options possible that I can do on this database. Okay, fine. So here you can see this query editor. This is in still in preview mode, so you can just access this database through this query editor. So just let us see how it works. So you can see here that this was the login I had created. So I will give my password. Okay, now you can see here that I cannot open this server because it is showing me that I'm not allowed. Okay, this IP address is not allowed to access this server. So it by default, as we had selected that no access, so it is by default it will not allow to access it. So I have to add this in the firewall rule. Okay, so I have to go to this firewall rules and I have to change this. So let us go back here. Okay, so when I am here in the overview section, you can see here set server firewall. So this is where I can add the firewall rule. So when I add client IP, so here, okay, so by default it is coming, this one is the IP address from where I had added this query editor I was trying to use. So let us add this. Okay, so I just save. So I have updated the firewall rules. So I will go back to the database and I will again go back to the query editor. I will give the password. Okay, so now you can see that I'm now able to access this. Okay, so whenever you are trying to access this Azure SQL database from any of the client, then it is important that you should add that IP address in the firewall rules, then only you will be able to access. Okay, so that's how this database is secured. Though you have created in the client in the cloud environment, then also you have to provide the client IP addresses, then only it will be allowed to access. No one else can access your database. Okay, fine. So this is some notification. These notifications always come whenever you are trying to do something, any event, so you can always track from here that what are the actions you have taken and whether it was successful or it was failure. So fine. So I'm going to the query window. So let us create a table. So here I can use the transact SQL. Just I want to tell you that it is similar to the SQL Server, on-premise SQL Server, transact SQL that we have used. There are few things that are different here, mostly server related activities. So if there is something, some command which is going to make some changes directly in the SQL Server instance, then you may not be allowed. Otherwise any type of this table creation or data retrieval, those things are mostly similar. There are only few things, few commands that don't work here. So in case you want to migrate some database from on-premise to Azure, then you have to take care of those parts, that what are the differences between normal SQL Server database and Azure SQL. Okay, then only we have to take care. Otherwise most of the commands are same here. So let us try to create one table here, dbo.student. So I'm just trying to create a table named student. So student ID and comma student name. Okay, varchar date. So let us try to create this query, this table. Okay, so it is showing that this query succeeded. Now if you go here, so you can see this table is created and these are the columns it is showing, right? So next let me try to insert some record in the table. Insert into dbo.student. Okay, so you can see that query succeeded, affected rows 1, that means that record was inserted in the table. Now I will write the select command. So select, then list of columns. Okay, so the language that I am using is transact SQL. Okay, so that is the standard programming language for SQL Server. So here I am using some of the DML statements, right? So I am inserting record, then selecting, and earlier I had used the DDL statement, that is the create table statement. So from dbo.student, okay, so if I execute this select, now you can see the data, that one record I had added, so you can see it. So that is the from the query editor. Now I can access this database from outside as well, means from my management studio. Now let me try to access this database server. Okay, so for that I will go and refer the connection string of this database. Okay, so can go here, you can see. So this is the connection string. So this connection string is actually required when you are going to access this database from front-end programs also, so you can use that. So this is the initial catalog, this is the SQL server. So I will take this SQL server detail. Okay, fine. So I try to log in with this. So it is getting connected. As I had added that IP address of this local machine, that's why this time it did not create any problem. So this management studio is present in my machine, and from there giving the connection stream I am using. So you can understand that from any machine client management studio you can access this database, provided that that particular IP address is available in the firewall, means that IP address should be allowed, then only is possible to access that. Okay, so from management studio here I can expand. So you can see here this database, I can see this database. Okay, so this is the logical server that we had created, and we had created only one database. So you can see, so you can see here that that table I should be able to view this table. So it is expanding. Okay, so you can see here dbu student find. So I can do the same operations on the database, on different operations I can do, as I can do in for any on-premise SQL server. So once the database is created in Azure environment and you have the connection string available, and if you can add that IP address range of the machines from where the database will be accessed, if that IP address is added in the firewall rule, then you can use this database just like any of the normal on-premise database. So that is the advantage as well, that once you have the database you can give access to people and they can use that database the similar way they can use any on-premise database. So maybe the people working in the database need not have adequate knowledge in the cloud environment even. So it's like the same thing, right? So when I am here you cannot even understand that the database is in cloud environment. So I can write any comment here. So I can write select. So you can see that the query is working, and from this management studio query window I can create tables, and I can access those tables. Okay, all the DML statements I can execute on those, and that is how this SQL database is created in the Azure environment, and it is being accessed from different client environments, provided that the client IP address is present in the firewall rules. Okay, so that's how we have shown. Now we'll go back here in the database. So it is again I am in the overview part of it, and here you can see some graphical representation. So it will show you that how your database is actually being used. Okay, so you can have some idea about it, and there are many options, many configurations you can do. So these are some of the actions that you can have on the database. You can configure, and you can make some changes, and in the left panel also there are many options. You can go through them, that how these things work and what you can do here. Okay, so now you have the overview and the idea that how this Azure SQL database can be created and how it can be used. Okay, and when you don't need this database, because if your work is done, then it's always a good practice that you delete that resource. Okay, because you have to remember that whenever I have created any of the resource, then it is going to cost me. So whenever any resource is created, and when the usage is done, then it is the good practice that that should be removed, so that the cost can be minimized. So I believe now it is good, and in the next session we are going to discuss on some other resources in the Azure environment. Okay, so thank you for